Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Environment and Licensing Committee. The taxi drivers, you are welcome for the first part of the meeting, but later on I will have to ask you to leave when we get to the more confidential items, and you'll be called in as and when required. So thank you very, very much for that. The meeting will be live streamed, is being live streamed, and will be available for subsequent playback through the Council's website. You should be aware that the Council is a data controller under the Data Protection Act. Data collected during this webcast will be retained in accordance with the Council's published policy. However, once we get to the confidential items, we will stop the public broadcast, and that will remain a confidential item. So, thank you. I think because it's so hot, I'm just going to hunt for my... Sorry about that, everybody. Do we have any apologies for absence? Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you, Chair. No apologies, but I am just trying to find out if Councillor Gibbons is on his way. Sorry, I'll try that again. No apologies as such, but I'm just trying to find out if Councillor Gibbons is on his way.
Thank you.
We've had apologies from Councillor Smith, who may be late.
I believe that's what you wanted to say, Martin Smith, yes? I apologise for not saying Councillor Martin Smith. So, are you okay for that, you two? Yes, thank you. So those in favour of approving the minutes of the last meeting, 18th of May, please show. Thank you. Councillor Gibbons is now behind you, Councillor Wilkinson. So are there any declarations of interest? I can't see any hands, so I assume there are no declarations of interest. And I have no items that I consider urgent. So I'd like to move on to the agenda proper. And I can't. Thank you. Sorry, Alec. So we're moving to agenda item 4, the amendment of Hackney carriage vehicle licence conditions. The report from the Head of Environment. However, I believe that you are giving the outlining basic report. Is that correct? Thank you very much. Would you like to introduce yourself? Because Mr. Gibbs, because I couldn't quite think how to address you.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Paul Gibbs, Licensing Officer for Gedling Borough Council. We received a request from a licensed driver requesting that the committee considers the amendment to the Hackney carriage vehicle licence conditions with respect to the requirement to display a roof sign. As the licence conditions are endorsed and agreed by yourselves, it is right that this request is presented to you for you to debate and discuss, and then to arrive at the decision of your making. To save time, if it's okay, I don't think I need to read the report, as you've all had prior sight of the report. You've also had the actual original request made by the licensed driver, and the licensed driver also kindly gave us furtherance after he had sight of the report, which I circulated, and hopefully you had prior sight of that as well. So I'm open to answer any questions, Chair. Thank you.
Can I ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak on behalf of the points made? I thought that the person who'd made the application was going to join us.
I believe the applicant is here.
Yes?
If he wishes to come up and speak.
So hold it and then
If
talk.
you feel the report speaks for itself, you don't have to say much, but I thought I'd give you the opportunity should you
Oh, you
wish.
want to put it down? I was just going to say, if anybody wants to ask me any questions, I'm happy to answer them on the fly. It's not a problem at all. If anybody had any queries or anything in relation to the report itself. Other than that,
Thank you.
Yeah.
I understand why, this is a sort of question, I understand why it is an occasional problem for you when driving for, say, Uber, I don't know if that's who you drive for, that people may think that you're available for hire. But at that point, you don't have your light on, do you?
No, I don't. The issue is I do understand it is a rare occasion, or at least a rare occasion, that you may feel that. But my issue is, as I've outlined in the report, it is a question of liability. All it takes is one incident to go horribly wrong. That could be one occasion in 3 months, say. And if that one incident goes horribly wrong, that's enough to cause a major issue, potentially of liability for me, potentially of liability for my operator, and also potential for vicarious liability for Gedling Borough Council. So I understand you're saying it's very rare, but well, not very rare, but rare in the relatively speaking. And with regards to the light itself, I explain this in the report. In the middle of the day, the light makes near to next to no difference. I've never turned the light on, to be honest. I've never done anything like that. So yeah.
Thank you. So perhaps a question for you as licensing officer, Mr. Gibb, is do we know of instances where the light has caused such maybe an altercation, I think that's what you've alluded to in your report, sir, that we might have concerns?
We're not aware, or I'm certainly not aware of a roof sign causing any issues. But as explained in the report, it is seen as a distinguishing feature for Gedling licensed Hackney carriages in and around the Nottinghamshire area.
Councillor Wilkinson, you have a question.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I've got a question for Craig, actually. It's in view of that. I do have some sympathy with the arguments that have been put forward in favour of amending the regulations, but the gentleman, sorry, I don't know you, Matthew, has made mention to vicarious liability. Do you have any comments from a legal perspective on that, Craig?
It's difficult to think of a situation where the council would be vicariously liable, because vicarious liability usually only relates to a landowner or employer, and the council don't employ taxi drivers. Potentially there's a legal argument that condition may cause an issue, but I think it would be quite a difficult argument to prove. Like I say, without knowing the circumstances of a issue, I think it would be very difficult to prove vicarious liability on the council's part. But yeah, like I say, it's just sort of unknown. We don't know what the allegation is, kind of thing. I think it would be difficult. I wouldn't be too concerned about vicarious liability. Yeah.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions about the report? Councillor Smith.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I note that other councils have decided to dispense with this signage. Is that correct? And do we know the reasons why?
All of the licensing authorities within Nottinghamshire require a roof light on their Hackney carriages currently, unless it is a prescribed vehicle such as those in Nottingham City and Rushcliffe Borough Council area. So basically, if Gedling dispense of the roof light, we would no longer be in kilter with the other local authorities within Nottinghamshire.
Councillor Towsey-Smith.
Thanks, Chair. Could consideration be given to the application of what is known as a sock to be placed over the sign when the driver is not driving as a Hackney carriage driver, but solely as a private hire? A device used in the police many years ago, where if a civilian driver was driving a police vehicle that had a roof sign on it, a sock was placed over it so that it did not show to the public that it was a police vehicle. Could this be extended in this instance so that when, as I say, drivers are driving as a private hire only operation, that a sock is applied and removed when he's plying or she is plying for Hackney trade? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Would you like to comment on that? Yes.
And I may also invite the driver to have comment as well. There is nothing that can be deemed to be a variation as to the licence type of the vehicle. It's either a Hackney carriage or a private hire vehicle. Admittedly, the type of work those vehicles undertake can vary with respect to a Hackney carriage working for a private hire operator. So the licence is for either a Hackney carriage, which then needs to adhere to the conditions set by your good selves, or it's a private hire vehicle, again, needing to abide by the conditions set by yourselves. So you can't sort of like pick and choose as and when a vehicle is a Hackney carriage or it's a private hire vehicle. It is licensed and must retain that status for the duration of its licence. I don't know if Matthew wants to have a comment from a driver's perspective.
I think what's been said is correct. With respect to the gentleman there that said that, I understand where he's coming from with regards to police vehicles. I see that a lot. That is still in practice. But with regards to it, if a sock is put over it, for example, I agree with what was said. It is a Hackney. That it is identifiable as a Hackney. That's with the front and rear plates and potentially a roof sign, even though in many councils a roof sign is used on private hire vehicles as well, as you've seen in the report. The issue is as well, if you're going to put a sock over it, you may as well put it in the boot, in short, because you're doing exactly the same thing. And also with regards to a sock going over the top of it, if that sock comes off when you're travelling at 70 miles per hour and hits the vehicle behind, you've got a problem, a major issue from personal liability perspective. And with regards to what was said about vicarious liability, part of my application, I'm sure the gentleman, very intelligent gentleman over there, will probably understand what I'm saying. I have a duty under the Health and Safety at Work Act to make sure everybody's safe. So as far as I'm concerned, me making this application means that if something does happen, if something serious, that injury is incurred or liability is incurred, I will make it aware that I did make the application for the for hire sign to be removed. Gedling Borough Council potentially refused that application. Therefore, I will look to potentially make Gedling Borough Council vicariously liable alongside it. That's part of the reason why the application has been made, because I have a duty to ensure health and safety.
Sorry, so can I just come back to you there? What circumstances are you suggesting if the roof light, if it came off, or are you saying if another incident happened because you had the roof light on? I'm just struggling to understand under what circumstances you would be saying the council are at fault.
I'm sorry, I think you misunderstood me. I don't mean the roof light itself coming off the vehicle. I mean the sock coming off the roof light that's on the
okay.
vehicle.
Wait.
So if that was to go onto the... I don't think with the magnet... I'm not making... That's not a reasonable argument for me to make. That roof sign is not going to fly off that vehicle. There are 3 magnets on it. It's not going to come off. If I could have made that argument in the original submissions, I would have done so. I'm talking about the sock coming off, hitting the vehicle behind.
That was my mistake. Yeah, just to clarify that, yeah. Thank you.
I think you would realise that this is a change to terms and conditions should we vote to go ahead with looking at the change, and so it would have to go out to consultation for other drivers. Have you done any research with drivers as to how popular this would be?
Very popular. I've spoken to other drivers, as you're probably aware, Hackney carriage drivers, throughout the pandemic. I've done it for a year and 8 months, but I've done it a lot. And one poor gentleman decided he was going to put his for hire sign on backwards. So when he approached and drove along the road, people couldn't see the for hire sign, so they wouldn't jump out in front of his vehicle and try and stop him. So this is the reality of the matter on the ground. I understand from a legal perspective and from a perspective of you guys in here, I totally respect that, Ma'am, I do. But from a point of view of a driver on the ground, this for hire sign is a problem. Now, the vehicle is identifiable as a Hackney from the front and the back as a Hackney, but it being for hire is a matter of the sign. That sign indicates it's for hire, people expect it's for hire, and as you've seen in my report, it's caused quite a few circumstances where it's caused problems. So I would say that if you put it out for consultation to those that respond, you would probably get it in favour of, please let us put the roof light in the boot.
Has that resulted in anyone having any more questions? No? It's a simple question, I believe, then, of moving to the vote, whether we would go to consultation over the issue to the wider public, which will include all drivers, of course, or whether we see no benefit in doing that and remain the same. So the vote is to support the application. Actually, to support the recommendation to refuse the application. So vote yes if you want to support the recommendation to refuse the application. Yes? Are you all clear that the officer's recommendation is that there is no need for change? If you think you've heard something... Do we need a seconder? I will propose it. Will someone second that we move to the motion of whether to accept the officer's recommendation to refuse the application? Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Okay. Those in favour of accepting the officer's recommendation to refuse the application for change, please show. Those in favour of going out to consultation with the public and other...
You've got to either approve or reject this and then make a new motion.
Okay. So we can't just accept that. Okay, we have to propose a second motion then. I propose that we accept the...
Sorry, Chair. So you need to ask for those against.
I thought I did. Nobody put their hands up. Did I not ask?
Ask anyone for refusing it.
Oh, anyone against the recommendation to accept the officer's... The officer's proposal is to refuse the application from a member of the public. Those against accepting the officer's recommendation, please show. Abstentions? Well, the officer's recommendation is lost. So I propose that we accept the recommendation for change.
So I think you're proposing that you want to start a consultation.
And move to consultation, yes. That is what we would have to do. that we wish the officers to begin a consultation on the topic with the public and other drivers. Those in favour of that, please show. Okay, that was overwhelmingly passed. Thank you very much. So we will go to consultation. Okay? Thank you. Thank you for your time. Right, so I now want to move that we exclude the press and public, seconded by Councillor Ellis, and all the drivers have gone now. All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much.